I would like now for you all to close your eyes a moment and take several long, deep breaths. Throughout the West, and much of the East, we as a species are conditioned to engage in hurried breathing. A staggering rush, just like everything else that we do. Fast-paced, and not as beneficial as it could be. Now, of course, you can't walk around consciously breathing all the time, because it is by nature a subconscious action. Quite often, the more we think about it, the more we start to panic. It's a similar idea in that if you suddenly noticed your own heartbeat and started thinking about how fast it was beating, or slowly, it could only really serve to distress you. If you've ever suffered from an anxiety attack, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Like the action of aspiration, it is also an involuntary response. Your heart simply beats. It's not something you yourself can beat like a drum. If anything, it beats you into continued existence. Bum bum, bum bum, bum bum. You've little choice but to sit back and listen. Funnily enough, when you breathe slowly, that serves to calm your heartbeat as well. Now, there are some peoples in our world that actually have figured out a method for controlling their own heartbeat. Many of them in the CIA or MI6 or 5 or whichever one the secret agents work in. I'm not certain exactly. Most of us, though, have not mastered our own emotions in such a controlled and disciplined way. We can't possibly be expected to. Your average Joe or Jane doesn't generally even think to do so, and that's not a judgment or dig at any working people, or the super wealthy or anyone else. We do what we feel we need to in order to get on, and it's as simple as that. Conscious, deep, and controlled breathing, however, at periodic points throughout the day can really work wonders. And it's something that most anyone can do. I have to throw that caveat in because, of course, there may be people out there for whom breathing really is a struggle. And if they can't, they can't. I do understand. In any case, this sort of disciplined breathing is perhaps a semi-automatic function. You can, to a certain point, control your own breath. A lot of people seem to have no trouble at all doing so when they smell some delicious food, or when they're sucking on a vape or smoking, for example. It becomes very easy then. In fact, it feels mandatory. The moment the action gives us some kind of comfort or pleasure, we go out of our way to do it deliberately. No questions asked. Why then? If we can do that, do we not stop to take in oxygen the same way? The number one thing that gives us life. It controls everything. Almost every single living organism on this planet needs it to survive, save for a few bacteria, and yet we completely take it for granted. Well, we will do, because there's very little we can do about it. We didn't ask to need it as a source of fuel, after all. We're totally subservient to its power, and well, some people don't like to think they're subservient to anything, but there you have it. The breath of life is the breath of the divine. When most of us breathe, though, it's in, out, in, out, in, out. We're like little steam engines chuntering along as fast as we can go, up and down the same system of rails every day, going to more or less the same places and doing more or less the same things. There's nothing particularly wrong with that in all fairness. I'm exactly the same. More or less everyone is. We're all guilty of allowing the stress to damage our physical and mental health. our spiritual soundness. And if you tried to consciously breathe all the time, you would probably be too distracted from getting anything else done. We look for routine, and we look for results. Sometimes routine and repetition yield the best results, like regular practice at an instrument. And yet, sometimes, novelty and breaking comfort zones is how you push to the next level, like overcoming a fear of public speaking, for example. So here I am, in a fashion. Now, this is not a lecture, as I say. We can't possibly go around consciously breathing all the time, because quite frankly, it might drive you mad. There are benefits, however, to doing it regularly throughout the day, or really just whenever you remember and get the chance to stop and do it for a couple of minutes. Have a go at it with me now. We're going to do some deep breathing, and then we're going to do a little cloud watching on the back of it. All of it can be very relaxing. Not literal cloud watching at this point, but you'll get my drift in just a moment. Keep breathing in this manner. Inhale through your nose for as long and deeply as you can, until you can't force a single parcel of air into your lungs, and hold it for between 5 and 10 seconds. As you're doing this, you should imagine a large mass of white, pulsating air before you. As you breathe in, this vibrant, swirling cloud is entering your lungs and disappearing into your chest. And as this happens, a similar cloud the colors of ash gray and eventually black is exiting your body through your childlike eye, which some call the third or mind's eye. It doesn't really matter what you call it, and it doesn't matter if you believe it to exist in the literal sense or not. Pretending will do just the same thing. So you are breathing in this large white cloud and pushing its dark, thundery counterpart out through your childlike eye, through the center of your forehead, just between your eyebrows. Your very own connection to the divine, to the source of all existence, built into the very fiber of your being. When you have held your breath in this way for 5 to 10 seconds, slowly exhale and push the air out of your lungs until there is nothing left. As you do this, the black cloud will begin to draw back into your childlike eye, and out through your mouth, the white cloud will begin to form once again. Repeat this for the entirety of the exercise. Then, if you please, you should already have begun to feel so much more relaxed. Let's do it together a few more times before we carry on. There now. Doesn't that feel better already? I want you to forget about all of your troubles and worries for a moment and just relax. I know that might sound like a very tall order, and to some it will seem outright impossible. However, you can give yourself full permission now for the length of this exercise to focus only on yourself. It doesn't mean that you don't care about others. It doesn't mean that you don't care about your responsibilities. All it means is that you are going to spend a brief moment on giving yourself a bit of mental care, which is perfectly within your rights as a living, breathing creation of our universe. Nobody has any business telling you otherwise. All the worries, stresses, struggles, and strains can be seen to later. There is nothing so urgent that cannot wait the brief time that you are watching this video, unless you are leaving here in an ambulance. If that's the case, of course, you'll be able to find this exercise on my socials while you are hopefully recovering later on and needing something to help you relax. Only joking. Throughout the exercise, I will ask you to continue to take deep and controlled breaths in the same way we have been doing, and I will occasionally pause to breathe with you. Please close your eyes, follow along, and continue to breathe. Imagine you are gazing upon an ocean of clouds, a self-directed canvas of natural change, swishing its brush to the pulse of the universe. Each time you exhale, you add to its pattern, casting droplets of paint to the grandest cathedral, raised to the heavens without bricks, beams, or ceiling. These clouds recognize no limit, shifting dragon to stallion and stallion to fox without effort, simply by letting go. With the power to raise the most stern chin in wonder and lull your attention to a sky marvel guessing game. They're the same clouds that have been there ever since the atmosphere of our beautiful blue and green planet took form. Just as every one of you is made of the same precious jewels created at the beginning of time. The clouds, like all of us, change and reform themselves constantly. Yet we always recognize them to be the clouds, nothing more or less. You are exactly the same as the clouds. As your thoughts flow free through a mind which has no definable limit, again, just like the very fabric of our reality, your potential for success, joy, and love are also then equally without limit. You needn't exert any effort to find them or seek them out as some kind of trophy or reward for a hard day's work, because in the core of your essence, you truly are enough. In that respect, the glass is always half full. No matter what occurs, no matter what goes wrong on any given day, your glass can never be reduced below the half-full line. The template of perfection and worth and wonder and great achievement is always present, vibrant, alive. If you weren't supposed to be here, then you wouldn't be. It's as simple as that. The universe decided that in all the limitless expanse that is space and time, as far back in the past and in as distant of a future as you can conceive, you were necessary. Now, how about that? From the mists over riverbed trenches and townships to gas giant planets with storms ever shrouded, talents are woven your fabric like Frankenstein's backstitch with shape-shifting tattoos that can't quit. You're enough, always becoming a better version, new and improved, without fuss. You weren't the same person 5 minutes ago, and you'll evolve till your soul breaks the chrysalis hold. Atmosphere, let the nimbus relinquish your hardship and pour out your heart into gold glitz rivers upon blessed shores, reflecting a sky you can swan dive for. It's something to thrive for, not die for. It's something to smile for, not cry for. So fly on the winds with the cherubs and seraphims and live like the gift that you are upon spread wings. In your mind, please repeat after me. Say, I am not here to validate my existence to anyone. I am a unique and complex being, deserving of love, acceptance, and understanding. It is my responsibility to treat myself in this way and also to treat others in kind. I do not exist in a category or box. I am experiencing the universe in my own unique way. I am constantly learning, changing, and growing. I have valuable things to share and teach, and I need only believe in myself enough to enrich my own life. Enrich the lives of those I share these brief moments of time with. I am always in a state of flux. I am always learning, growing, and evolving. I am the clouds. I float freely as an integral and adaptable part of the design, not separate from it. So lie on your back in a meadow of wonder. Stare up at a reflection of yourself in the sky, and shape your destiny at will. It is my hope that you feel more connected with the universe and your place within it. It is so easy to forget through all the daily stresses and strains of our lives that we do not have to retain control over everything. There are things in this world that are blocks of clay that we can take and meld to suit our purposes. Then there are things that are as clouds that we simply need to watch and do not need to try and take over and have control of. If we leave it to its own devices, it will transform and change of its own accord, and we don't need to do anything with it. We can, of course, visualize in the clouds to see what we can make from the symmetry and shapes within, but inevitably, they will flow freely and form themselves as the will of the universe deigns. My challenge for you today is to write down in your notebooks, tablets, phones, laptops, stone slates, or what have you, scenarios or things lately that you have been working really hard to deal with. You have fought tooth and nail with your teeth gritted and a stolid determination not to give up, and for whatever reason or another, it just isn't happening. I'm not here to crush your dreams or suggest that you just give up, let things go, or anything like that. But what I do suggest is that you look at the situations you have noted down and brainstorm all the possible outcomes if you were to simply take a step back and let it go. Not necessarily give up. Not permanently anyway. What happens if you just take the burden off your shoulders and give it up to the universe, God, the powers that be, whatever you call it, and watch it take shape like a cloud? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The age-old serenity prayer. Those among you Christian or not may be familiar. There are things in the Bible I agree with and things that I am a little more dubious of. But this particular little prayer is one I think that everyone should be familiar with, at least to some extent, because you simply cannot control everything. It cannot be done. You will squeeze the sand so hard trying to keep it in your hands, and it will slip between your fingers, and you will feel like a failure for it when it is not you that has failed. If you were given absolute control over everything, you yourself would be a god. Pure and simple. We are flesh, blood, rock, wood, water, air, life. We are extensions of the divine and the universe, but then the divine needed to allow things to mold and take shape on their own to allow for the balance. If everything just worked out the way we wanted it to, we would have nothing to work for. Life would be pointless, would it not? The beauty of creation and our universe is that it is not fixed. It was set in motion in such a dynamic way that it is always self-improving. That is evolution. It is pure genius. You don't have to commit to anything on your list at the end of the day. Your only task is to think about it and put it in writing. If you let that strenuous, stressful thing go that just isn't working, what do you stand to gain? Sometimes the only thing you can do if you really want a result is to let go. The fledgling eagle cannot fly unless it makes a leap of faith. And all the preparation in the world leads to one moment of truth. They cannot let their brains get in the way and overthink. It is the wings that do the job. There are a great many ancient walls in Britain that survive today, the stones of which were laid simply by stacking and balancing them on top of each other. If there was no harmony to their placement, the walls would have fallen. Oh yes, of course, there are sections that have broken apart over time, but you can simply argue that their time to stay together is over. Much like any shape that a cloud forms will soon dissipate into something else entirely. If you're feeling particularly brave and confident, you can take one of the things from your list and try letting it go. Don't get me wrong, the outcome may absolutely not be what you would want or expect, but it could also relieve a huge burden from your life. You could be trying to force a career goal to work that simply won't stick, or a marriage to work that is now loveless and long overdue for separation, so you can get back to feeling like you again. It could be that someone who you valued deeply as a friend just isn't responding to you anymore, no matter how hard you try to get them to come back and rejoin you as kindred. None of these things can be forced, and quite often, it's the simple act of release that makes the situation turn around in your favor. Let me know how you get on in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends and loved ones if you think they would benefit from my contemplation exercises. And don't forget to buy a copy of my book, Pretendable, The Childlike I, in the link below, which has a great many more detailed exercises for you to try and goes far more in depth. Have a blessed day, evening, and week ahead. I'm S.A. Harris. Until next time, happy cloud watching.